Hello and welcome back to the Crime Reel. For today's true crime narration, we shall be looking at the violent crime that sent shockwaves through the seemingly calm and gentle world of horticulture. In 2009, 54-year-old Linda Casey was working as a horticultural teacher at an adult education centre in Surrey, England. She had 3 adult daughters from her 2 marriages, along with 7 grandchildren. She was separated from her second husband, Anthony Wisby, but the pair remained living in the same house in Coulsdon, Surrey. Described as the rock and foundation of the family, she was very close with her 3 daughters. She was present for the birth of all of her grandchildren, and the family enjoyed spending Christmas and holidays together. Linda was a keen gardener, had an allotment where she grew vegetables, and was a friendly, confident, kind, outgoing woman. Some 4 years earlier, in October 2005, a 46-year-old man by the name of Peter Ling enrolled on the City and Guilds horticulture course that Linda taught. Peter wanted to improve both his gardening career and his social life. Peter had been married to Deborah Ling, a doctor's receptionist, for over 20 years. He was described as a gentle soul who never raised his voice, a caring and thoughtful man. The Lings did not have any children and lived together in a house on Taylor Road, Wallington. Peter was, however, deeply unhappy in his marriage, and although he had never been unfaithful to his wife, he was now looking outside of the marriage to both cure his unhappiness and satisfy his sexual desires. During the time when Linda was teaching Peter, they became friends, and over a long period of time their relationship began to develop into something more intimate. In December 2006, they went on their first date, which was for a meal at a pub in Chipstead, and soon after they settled into a routine where they would meet up every Thursday and Saturday. Peter became frustrated by the lack of time that they could spend together and suggested that they went onto a trip. In April 2007, under the guise of a business trip, Peter and Linda went on holiday to Devon for a week. Upon their return, with the pair meeting up for sex, outside, in the car, anywhere. This side of their relationship was spontaneous and passionate, things that Peter felt were missing from his marriage. In order to deceive his wife, Peter started to forge letters on headed notepaper, giving details of his so-called business trips so that he could take Linda on various holidays. They spent periods of time in the West Country and north of England where they would indulge in their shared passions of visiting gardens, eating out, and going to the theatre. They would email and text each other daily using their sexual gardening nicknames of Purple Morning Glory and Passion Flower. Peter believed that it was only a matter of time before the two of them would start a new life together, but sometimes had a niggling feeling that Linda was holding back about her true feelings. On the 22nd of July 2009, Linda visited Peter at his home in Wallington. She wanted to print some pictures of a garden that they had created for the Hampton Court Flower Show before she went away on holiday for a few days with her family. When she left the house, Linda inadvertently left her Yahoo email account open on Peter's computer. He decided to print out a few more pictures of the garden that they had worked on. However, curiosity got the better of him, and whilst he was logged into her account, he decided to read some of Linda's emails. Soon enough, Peter realised that Linda was being far from honest with him. She had told him that she had never cheated on her second husband before, but he soon realised that this was a lie. Not only had she cheated before, but the affair had continued during the whole time that Peter and Linda had been together. Linda was involved with another student from the adult education centre, a man called Ian Tolfrey. She had been having an affair with him since 2002, which was 4 years before her affair with Peter began. As Peter continued to snoop, he discovered more and more details about Linda's life that he was far from happy about. Linda would meet Ian every Wednesday at her allotment, where they would often have sex in her potting shed, and every Friday on what she would call Ian Day. While she had always been reluctant to discuss her feelings with Peter, this definitely wasn't the case with Ian, who she was obviously besotted with. When Peter read of Ian providing the X Factor in the bedroom, this was a further blow to Peter, who was already insecure about his own abilities to satisfy Linda. For 4 days, from the 22nd to the 25th of July, Peter became increasingly enraged as he looked through more than 1,200 emails dating back for years. When Linda returned from her holiday, Peter arranged to meet her at the Wisley Horticultural Society. He confronted her about the content of the emails, but she refused to answer his questions, which only increased his frustration further. A week later, Linda agreed to meet up with Peter again, presumably in the hope that some time apart would have allowed him to calm down about the situation. However, he had spent this time trying to regain access to Linda's emails, scouring over the details in the emails that he had already printed, searching for information about Ian toll-free on 192.com, and also scanning through both Ian and Linda's Facebook accounts. He had also told his wife Deborah that their marriage had been like eating the same meal for 20 years and that he wanted something different. When Linda and Peter met on the 8th of August 2009 at the Ramblers Rest pub, he began to question her again about her relationship with Ian, but she just refused to talk about it. They went for a walk in Banstead Woods, where it is believed they had sex before getting into an argument about the emails again. Linda allegedly taunted Peter over his sexual performance, stating that, "You're not big enough for me." Peter snapped. In an explosive, violent attack, he beat Linda with a rock with such force that the bones in her face were shattered. She was clinging on to life as he buried her semi-naked body under some leaves. She was fatally wounded and died shortly afterwards. He then gathered up her belongings, throwing her clothes into a tree about 100 metres away from the scene of the attack and disposing of her watch and glasses nearby. Taking her car keys, he then returned to the pub where Linda's car was parked and drove to a quiet spot about a mile away. Here he went through her text messages and saw graphic sexual pictures of Linda with another man. Peter then returned home and changed out of his clothing that was covered in blood. He managed to do this without his wife noticing, as Deborah was still at work. That evening he took Deborah out for dinner at the Well House in Chipstead and told her that he'd had a change of heart and was looking forward to their future together. Deborah was so happy to hear this from her husband of 23 years. However, unbeknownst to Deborah, just a couple of miles away lay the body of her husband's lover, who he had bludgeoned to death with a rock just hours earlier. On August the 10th, Linda's estranged husband raised the alarm when she hadn't returned to their home. A missing persons inquiry followed, during which Peter was contacted, but he denied having seen her. On the 13th of August, 5 days after she disappeared, Linda's battered body was found in Banstead Woods. Due to the level of injuries she sustained, she had to be identified by her fingerprints. Her black Vauxhall Corsa was found in nearby Park Road, where Peter had left it 5 days earlier. At around this time, Peter's wife Deborah was visiting a friend when Peter unexpectedly arrived at the friend's house. He then told Deborah that he had been having an affair for over 2 years and that something terrible has happened. "I think I have done something awful." He went on to explain that he had met Linda in Banstead Woods and had told her that their affair was over as he wanted to be with his wife. He said that she had taken this news very badly and that Linda had started to hit him. He then stated that he had then hit her with a piece of chalk and left her in the woods, going on to ask Deborah, "What if I killed her?" Peter wanted Deborah to run away with him, but she refused. With a holdall stuffed with clothes, Linda's mobile phone, car keys and the printed copies of the emails, Peter then went on the run, heading towards the West Country in his works van. Unsurprisingly, his time on the run was short-lived, and he was arrested on the A39 in Minehead shortly after. During his arrest, he reportedly said, "If you asked me 3 weeks ago if I had been a murderer, I would have laughed." The case went to trial in February 2010. Peter stated that he was not guilty of murder and claimed that it was manslaughter on the grounds of provocation. Throughout the trial, his defence was to try to blame Linda for his actions due to her provoking him, claiming that he had completely lost it when she insulted the size of his penis, and that he was temporarily in such a rage that he could not remember how many times he had hit her or when he had stopped. However, this version of events was disputed due to him having the clarity of mind to hide Linda's body, gather up her clothes and hide them in a tree, move and hide her car, subsequently go through her text messages and dispose of his own blood-stained clothing. Throughout the trial, Peter was often seen crying when the details of his crime were being discussed. On the 19th of February 2010, Peter was found guilty by an 11-1 majority and sentenced to life in prison and ordered to serve a minimum of 18 years. Despite his emotion throughout the trial, he remained stony-faced during the sentencing, with the judge referring to his earlier tears as selfish tears of self-pity, and also said, "But finally justice has been done, and I hope it will be of some comfort to her friends and family who have been deeply affected by her loss." I've been unable to find which prison he is currently serving his time at. That concludes today's story. Thank you for listening to The Crime Reel. Stay safe. Goodbye.